my interest in metabolism is because metabolism is a very entangled situation. There is a sort of a rational fall down in anything that happens in metabolic condition. Sometimes when I've been also teaching and teaching my students, what metabolism is, I use the example of a blanket. So when you pull one side of the blanket, everything comes and moves in some direction. And this is actually what really interested me in metabolism. How these kind of things are chained, are connected one to another, and how changing one aspect of the metabolism in the sugar, in the glucose, in the carbohydrate reflects to some extent into the lipid one, the amino acid, and so on and so forth. And this is really something that when I was a student and then was a young doctor, intrigued me very much. And of course, related to that is the hormonal regulation that is on top of the metabolic condition. And as you can imagine, it's easy to understand how you move from looking into the physiology of the metabolism, how the physiology can be perturbated, and then you can see also what is the role of the hormones. And because of that, diabetes is a typical example. Is a change or a lack of regulation of a key hormone like insulin, and that is called in the medical dictionary diabetes, and that's where I ended up. This is how I ended up, being studying and being involved in diabetes and also taking care of people with diabetes. I think that passion is the basis of everything. And I said, it's the basis of everything in literally. I think that, if you, any kind of job, if you have not the passion for that job, it's becoming a routine. And routine is becoming annoying, and annoying, create a sort of detachment for what you have to do and how you do it. So passion is at the basis of it. So my suggestion to the young people is just to follow their own interest and to pursue their interest with a lot of passion. Of course, we need to be rational. Of course, if you want to follow our passion, you also need to have, the support. We need to have the position. We need to have the job. There is the ambition, of course, and ambition is also part of the equation. But the ambition by itself is nothing. Passion with a bit of ambition can also provide, greater opportunities. But what is even more important is that passion and ambition needs not to be just limited to the individual, but they need to be opened up to collaboration and to opportunity for really interact with other people. And it's through this interaction that I think, a person can escalate up, can move up in the in the profession, and really becomes, or let's say not become, contribute a little bit to whatever is achieved over the time. Yeah, diabetes is really a condition that is growing up. It's the number of diabetes are becoming astonishing. Right now, it is calculated that there is more than 500 million people with the diabetes, and the projection is that we are going to hit the 800 million in 15, 20 years. So if you made a calculation easily, there is at least 1 in 10 person in the world with diabetes. That means that there are many, many people that have to deal with diabetes, family, relatives, and so on. So it's really a big problem. And it's not just a big problem because diabetes, just, going back to the initial question, metabolic disease is a metabolic disease. But because that metabolic disease also imply a significant impact in the quality of life of people because of the complications. And really, I think it's important to understand that diabetes, yes, it is defined as a perturbation of metabolism, glucose metabolism in particular, but diabetes mainly is complication. And complication can be dreadful, can be threatening, can be a cause of loss of life, of expectation of life. So it is an important thing to consider. So the question is, how come that the people with diabetes are continuously increasing, and the line doesn't seem, the slope doesn't really appear to be flattening down. So yeah, one of the potential reasons, or possible reason, is definitely that there is a change in the lifestyle, and this the change in the lifestyle impact on a genetic background. Most likely, we have a genetic background that is sort of a sparing background. We try as an organism, as a living organism, to preserve, to conserve energy. Conserving energy for us is just, bringing together high energy compounds, lipids, and so on and so forth. So when we are exposed to an excess of energy, an excess of calorie, we start building up weight, adipose tissue, and so on, through increased calorie intake, through reduced physical activity, through more stressful condition of life, which really trigger in predisposed individuals the development of diabetes. So lifestyle, it's really an important point. It's an important question, and this is going to pose a major problem, I think, in the future, because I'm really wondering sometimes if we're going to change our lifestyle, and I don't see how we're going to change it. So it's becoming a major problem. It's becoming a major problem because of the number, because of the societal implication, because of the economical implication, because of the difficulty in finding a solution that applies to as many as possible individuals. You see, diabetes is a sort of a interesting dichotomy, because in one side we have large number of people, so we would like to have something that can impact as many as possible of them. But in the meantime, we are learning that there is a lot of diversity within diabetes, and most likely within a specific form of diabetes, there is also individual nuances that require a better personalized approach. And that, I think, is going to be one of the next frontier of the research, how we can personalize individual risk to start with, and for those people maybe to really elaborate strategies that may change their interaction between the environment, the lifestyle, and their own genetic or individual predisposition. And on the other side, really to come up with something that can really be implemented and applied to as many as possible people at risk of developing diabetes. So I think there will be a lot of work to be done in the near future for this. And that there has been some report, that there is a slight difference in the prevalence of diabetes between genders, between male and females, but it's not a striking difference. There are other blueprints of the individual that most likely affect the predisposition. So, for instance, we know very well that there is, if you live in a family where diabetes is present, the risk is much greater. If you have the mother with diabetes, that is, a little bit more in terms of the predisposition than the father. But there are multiple factors that we needed to really consider. Gender is potentially one, because that, for instance, one of the main risk factor for diabetes is obesity. And for the female gender, at least after a certain age, the adipose tissue becomes probably a major problem as compared to men. But also, some recent data suggest that the two gender may respond differently to treatment that may tackle obesity and adipose tissue. So again, it's really bringing into the equation multiple factors that may allow us to define a better individual profile, individual phenotype, individual genotype, to really identify the risk of people of developing diabetes, and also to that of the differential risk in developing complication of diabetes. Yeah, first of all, let me tell you that, I consider myself very fortunate to have been really exposed to this incredible experience. This is really amazing. If I look back, sometimes I used to tell students, to tell colleagues, you know, as we have been doing just a moment ago, speak about personalization of the treatment. If I go back when I graduated and when I became a doctor, there was no personalization also because there was no drugs. There is only a couple of drugs available for treating diabetes. And it really was at the turn of the century, there was a big explosion. So the question is, why that explosion? Why so many new opportunities? Why some new pharmacological treatments made available? I think this is a combination of a few factors. The first one is that our understanding of the mechanism behind diabetes is really growing and very fast. I remember, I give you an example, an anecdote about that. When I studied medicine, and I studied, type 2 diabetes, at that time it was called non-insulin dependent diabetes. And I remember I was studying on a and I was reading page after page after page about, potential explanation of the disease. And after 10 or 12 pages of reading, the last two lines said, however, none of these hypotheses has been proven to be true at the time being. So I said, so it was just a hypothesis. But now we move out of the hypothesis to really demonstrating and understanding what are the mechanisms underlying the perturbation of glucose levels in people with diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, it's relatively more clear. There is no insulin. Insulin, as I mentioned before, it's key in the maintenance of glucose homeostasis. If you don't have insulin, everything, got disrupted. So that's sort of simple, right? Let's put it like this. But type 2 diabetes, we are learning now that there are many factors concurring. And the simple fact that we know now better what is contributing to the development of hyperglycemia, it allows us, or it allowed us, to identify better targets. And identifying the target, you can develop better tools to tackle that specific target. And that's what I think has happened. On the other side, the number of people with diabetes is growing. We have been just discussing that. So I think there was also pressure, different kind of pressure, and you can see what I mean, on the pharmaceutical research to come up with a better solution. So I think that the combination of the two really have triggered this incredible and enthusiastic, research for new opportunities. And we have, been exposed to incredible and unprecedented success in treating diabetes, and in particular type 2 diabetes, and more recently, a condition that is strictly associated with diabetes, which is obesity. So looking forward with a more optimism into the future, although we need to keep in mind that lifestyle is still important. So the drug cannot be the ultimate and only solution. It must be, once again, a combination of treatment that really require the participation, the understanding, the sharing of the decision between the physician and the patient, and of course, the selection of the best drug for the best person at the best time for an individualized and more personalized treatment. We live in a time where technology is the driving force, and technology is playing a major role in diabetes treatment as well. Diabetes is a condition which is identified and monitored through the measurement of glucose levels. In the past, it was measuring glucose into the urine. Then we identify system, to measure glucose on capillary blood, requiring a finger prick, though. And some people, and some young people, some kids also had to control the glucose 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. So that's not really the best you can think of. So technology has now provided us with a better way to continuously monitoring glucose. So we have a better understanding of what is the implication of treatment, of diet treatment, of the effect of the physical activity, of the lack of the physical activity, of following or not following the dietary advices, and so on and so forth. So we have a better understanding, and to the point that our metrics to identify and to monitor what is the glucose control in people with diabetes has completely changed. We moved out of some parameters that we have been using in the past, like hemoglobin, still very much used, to metrics that are derived from this continuous glucose monitoring. But it's not just the convenience of avoiding the finger pricks. It's more than that, because technology and continuous glucose measurement, for instance, brings about also connectivity. Connectivity means that I can monitor from distance my patients, and just generate some flags that may alert me or alert the person with diabetes when there is the time to reconsider the treatment or reconsider, the condition as a whole. But it's no more than that. You know, as I mentioned with your very first question was metabolism. And I mentioned once again insulin being the key factor, the key hormone regulating glucose homeostasis. And what we have learned is there is a very, very short feedback between insulin secretion and glucose concentration. And we have been struggling for decades, years after years, to artificially reconstruct this feedback, which is key because if we have that feedback, we can measure the glucose, and that glucose dictate the amount of insulin that needed to be returned, that need to be administered to maintain glucose control. And this is actually what's happening. So we have now what we call sort of artificial pancreases. You can directly measure the glucose, and the glucose is informing an algorithm. The algorithm is controlling a pump, and that pump delivers the required insulin to maintain glucose. So this is technology, and this is very much important. But there's more than that. Technology, and nowadays this is, everybody's speaking about AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is already playing a major role in treatment of diabetes. First of all, informing the algorithm that I was mentioning before, because that is an algorithm that can be monitored or can be combined with machine learning, so that algorithm is learning about the specific individuals it's working on. And that's one thing. Artificial intelligence is now being used to predict in a more efficient manner people at risk of diabetes. Artificial intelligence can be used to identify and for screening for diabetic retinopathy, which is still remain a major problem for people with diabetes and a major cause of loss of visual acuity in the adult population, in the working population. Just in a snap, you can take the picture of the fundus of the eye, and then being screened through millions of images, and just to provide a better screening, a more effective screening. This is just an example. But if you think technology can move even forward in a more far away approach. Nowadays, we are speaking about digital twins. So in other words, you reproduce the individual with the disease, with diabetes, so you can test in that digital twin what could be the diagnostic procedure or what could be the best treatment for diabetes, for the complication, and so on and so forth. So technology is going to play a major role. And I also believe that technology must, and I hope this is going to happen soon enough, change the way we organize the delivery of health to people with diabetes. So in a more harmonized, organized network, bringing in all the information coming from the hospital, the information coming from the regular monitoring, the information coming from the access to the pharmacy, the information coming from the glucose continuous monitoring, and so on and so forth, and to build up data that may allow to support, once again, a more efficient and more effective personalized, if not individualized treatment. So technology is going to change a lot. It's already changing. It's already making the life of people with diabetes a little bit easier. But I personally, I have a lot of faith and optimism in what educated use of the technology and the artificial intelligence can generate for people with diabetes. You know, stigma never work. That's and something that that we need to be careful. Yet, I think that we need to be careful in just avoiding the stigma, but inform the general population on what could be the consequences of some condition, obesity. And I'm saying so because to some extent, obesity, diabetes are preventable. So I think the best way to avoid the stigma is not to get there and to risk to be identified through a stigma. So, and I am believe that prevention is going to play and need to play a major role in all this. Prevention of obesity, prevention of diabetes, prevention of the complication of of obesity, prevention of the complication of diabetes, and so on and so forth. So we need to really recognize the individual living in a society and respecting all the condition that person may be living with, but also as a society, as a medical society, we also needed to ensure proper education of the general population about the value of health. And I'm not talking about diabetes or obesity or anything. It's health. Health is a major value, and it's a monetary value if you think, because the more people are healthy, the less or the more money we have to allocate for other things. If you need to cure million and million of people for any condition, those are money that are required. So I think that at the individual level, we as citizens should also pay attention to this, because this translated to a better societal environment, and I would dare to say also a better economical environment, which is important for everybody, I believe. Yeah, collaboration is essential in research, and collaboration research should not recognize any border. It's just the goal is just to pull together the best brains, and the best brains together to find a solution that should be a solution made available to everybody. As simple as that. So I see that I don't see any reason to have any barrier in science and research. It's just collaboration, and collaboration is key at any level. It's collaboration for the research group in a given university. It's collaboration between groups in different university. It's collaboration between university of different countries and continents and so on and so forth. And I think that science could really be a good trigger for bringing people together and really to face problems that are common problems, and that's also one of the task of the scientific association, the international ones, is really to bring people together, to confront each other, to discuss, to meet up, to find a point of contact and collaboration. And I think this is one of the main, really, duty for a scientific society and association. Yes, of course, the society can try to also to provide some funds for research. But again, this is the funds for research for people to get together to elaborate and to work on a specific question, on an hypothesis, and to provide, a better solution for whatever is the topic of that research. I'm a strong believer for a team effort, and for me, team can be a very large team, can be also a global team. So no border, no barrier, and I think that particularly nowadays we need to keep that concept very clear in mind, because unfortunately, I have the impression that we are wasting too much money in things that should be avoided, and those money, to be really invested in better collaboration across countries and across oceans and everything. This is a very interesting question. Going abroad, yes, for a very simple reason that I mentioned before. If you want to team up with other environment, with other cultures, with other organization, it's easier if you know a little bit how do they work. Of course, you don't need to know all of them, but just experiencing some difference from one system to another, I think it opens up the way we have to look at the question and the things that we want to face. So I would really encourage everybody to make an experience abroad. And if you think this is sort of a general concept, because nowadays, even at the time of the university studies, there is this push, this encouragement to really go abroad. The Erasmus program is a typical example. You want people to go and really experience different way university teach the students and so on and so forth. So I think we live in a world that is much easier to move around. And I think that for everybody would be very important to be exposed to a different system, just to appreciate that there are differences and there are things that you can learn or you can teach also. And I think this is key. Now, you go abroad and then you want to return to Italy. Is Italy attractive enough? I mean, if you look around Italy, of course, Italy is attractive. Italy is one of the best countries in the world. We have history, we have art, we have scenery that, that are just beautiful. The nature is fantastic. The food, the good wine, everything is good. Is that a sufficient attraction? This maybe we come to a little bit more, debatable, let's say, point. I think that Italy needs to open up to a more modern way to really live in science. We have incredible people that really have been contributed a lot to the advance of the humankind, if you think. But the system has not been following the same pace of the individuals. I think, that there should be more harmonization between what the individual can do and what the system can offer. Nowadays, I think, for a young investigator being exposed to condition of work abroad, it may be not that simple to return just for the sake of the job, the position of the work that is involved. Of course, if that person comes back, he can enjoy Italy for all the things that we already been said. So I hope that the fact that many people from Italy have been having some experience abroad, coming back, they also start to bring back a little bit of what they've learned, also to change the system, to change the organization, because we do have all the human strength for achieving so. And even nowadays, the research output of Italy is one of the top, but we need to keep up with the pace of the other countries and the other geographical areas that are in the field. So I think that more work is needed. And I think it's also needed to be appreciated, even by the general public, what is the importance of research and what is the importance to really support the research in a different way, in a different manner. If this is a value that is perceived by everybody, it's going to be much easier to readjust the things. If this is considered, unproductive or whatever, and so on, of course, that will be more difficult. I think that we are living, not just for research or for medicine, a difficult time, but also for many other sectors in our societies. But this shouldn't be a reason for pessimism. but actually it should be a push to work even harder and to contribute to really achieve the changes that are needed to keep Italy at the top of the other countries. Yeah, I know this is, I'm not sure, I'm the right person because this is more philosophy that I say that, that what a physician and a clinical investigator as I am can really face. But I think I leave this, as a sort of a dichotomy to some extent, because on one side, I think, the science should be free. Science should be able to really go in all the different direction to gain better knowledge, more insights, to get closer to the, I don't know if there is an absolute truth, but learning is a learning process, and that the learning process needs to be sort of free. But having said so, I think that an educated science should also have embedded in some control system that is able to recognize when something, and if you think, this story or this discussion about the artificial intelligence is a typical example. I think all of us are very much attracted by what the artificial intelligence, what is called artificial intelligence, may offer. But on the other side, we are a bit also concerned what could be the implication and the impact. So I think, first of all, scientists should get together. They should agree on some sort of a framing of the action. And whenever, any new outcome, new discovery may come available that may allow to go above or beyond those borders, this should be discussed all together in order to really take an educated decision. I'm confident on the rationality of the scientist, but that rationality should be shared and should be agreed upon, rather than having everyone just working by themselves, him or herself. So in other words, it's a shared decision that is needed. So if you accept that, I think that also the border can be something that can be moved, as far as, that movement, because we don't know really what is the, the good and the bad. What is the border for that? Is that definitely an absolute one? Not sure. I think that we need again to explore, as I already said, to share and to really discuss what is the implication, what can be done, and what can be done without really significantly changing what is the human nature.